Welcome to Share Views. I'm here with a very special guest, a wise old head, we hope, in the financial markets, Alan Steele, who is, not surprisingly, the head of Alan Steele Asset Management. How are you today, Alan?
Not too bad, apart from a broken toe and a cold.
Right, but that shouldn't affect your investing prowess.
Quite far away from my brain, I hope. Yeah.
Right. The first question I have is to do with your particular skill set. It seems that these days we're always facing a binary event. We had a binary event with the referendum in June. We've got this event coming with the presidential elections. Seems to be, there's OPEC at the end of the month. There always seems to be some big cloud on the horizon or uncertainty on the horizon, which normally most people get wrong as well. How do you invest in that kind of atmosphere?
Well, because I've been doing it for a very long time, if you go back in time, you'll find that this isn't anything new. The difference is there's so many media outlets now that just keep competing with each other to try and get the bad news stories. But if you go all the way back into the 70s, which is where I come from, there's always been something going wrong. It's just a fact of life. So what you've got to do is just kind of ignore it, and we just ignore it. So
when I was 7 and there was the oil embargo, I should have ignored it, should I?
Well, it wouldn't have made any difference to you.
Long of oil, well, I suppose long of oil stocks, it would have helped me quite a lot. But I mean, but you have these events. How do you invest around them? Because I presume that's what you're doing.
Well, that's what we used to do. But a long time ago, I was always convinced that there was a key that because people like Charlie Munger and Buffett have been around a long time, and Anthony Bolton in this country, and Neil Woodford and others like them, they seem to get it right on a rolling 3-5 year basis. They seem to ignore these things. So I always thought there has to be a secret. And so I kept just looking for a secret. Originally I thought it was demographics, because I'm a baby boomer, first wave baby boomer. And we're the generation that caused all the hike in interest rates and inflation in the 70s and so on. Rising house prices and all that, all the shortage of money, all that sort of thing. So I thought the secret was very simple. Demographics. And then 2000 came along, and obviously there's something going wrong. So you go back to you go back down and you start studying it again, and then we found by trial and error, because Colin Powell once said, he was the Secretary of State, U.S. Secretary of State. He said he was asked what the secret of success was, and he said preparation, hard work, and learning from failures. And so that's what we've taken on board. And then I started on a long journey of trying to find out people who seem to be good at predicting the world economy or the big things that were really happening, the secular movements. Try to find them, trial and error, who got it right, who got it wrong, and then you drill it down. And that's what we do now. We listen to the big picture. We listen to them, people like Ned Davis Research, which we buy. We follow people like Pring Turner, who get it right. They're in the States as well, and others. So the whole pile of them. And my job is to read all that. And then, from then, to then look at what kind of tactics should we be using to capture that secular move. And secular moves ignore cyclical events. Yeah, but
are these big picture experts coming up with there'll be a Brexit vote because there are more have-nots than there are haves? Is Trump's going to win because again there's more have-nots than haves? It's anti-establishment vote. Isn't it easier to look at the companies you're investing in on a case-by-case basis and saying it's got margins, it's got cash flow, it makes things, it's transparent, it's boring? That's what my football team does. So that rather than trying to predict the whole universe.
Well, it works for us. I just spend a lot of time reading. And Charlie Munger says, if you want to get better at anything, keep reading. And fortunately, despite my age, I'm still curious, and I keep reading, and I keep challenging the way we think. We look at what they're saying, the big picture people, and then we drill it down, and then we find the managers who actually find the really good companies that actually will survive and thrive, whether it's a Brexit, whether it's a Remain, whether it's Trump, whether it's Clinton, whether it's Democrats, whether it's Republicans, whether China's soft landing, hard landing. And that's what we do. I'm not that good. I can't find these individual stocks, but I like people who can.
So you're reading your peers in the asset management business. You're not reading the Daily Telegraph or the Financial Times.
No.
You're not reading journalists.
No. No, because it's interesting. A survey was done in the States. A lot of surveys have been done in the States. One survey actually found that something like 2/3 of people only read the headlines and maybe the first paragraph at most. And that's where all the shock horror headlines are, to catch your eye. Because bad news sells, good news doesn't sell. So if you follow the Telegraph, it's interesting. People say, but that's not what it said in the Telegraph. And I say, how much does your research cost you? What is the Telegraph, £1.50 a copy? Yeah, well, we pay a lot more than that.
So that is important. It's actually doing your homework is one of the pillars.
Correct.
Experience, has that helped you? I mean,
Yes.
over the years you've been going, what, so it's nearly 45 years? 43
well, I
years?
started in 73 as an IFA in January of 73, and 10 months later the world came to an end. It was called the October 73 crash. Then we got through that, and then there was another crash that people forget in 84. They remember the 87 crash. I remember I was flying back in from Ibiza, and Seven Oaks became One Oak overnight. The trees were down in London. And of course then there was the September and October seemed to be bad months, as Mark Twain used to say, except he included every other month as well, just to be sure. But the October seems to be a problem, doesn't it? The fall, that's maybe why it's called the fall. So yeah, I've seen it all. And I started in actuarial department in Scottish Widows in 1969, and there was a terrible trauma then as well. I think Rolls-Royce went bust in 71, and you know, the world was coming to an end. It's always been coming to an end. I've seen so many worlds come to an end. I just, you know, I get blasé.
So what area of the market are you focused on? Because private investors, probably most of the people watching this program are into the, let's say, the AIM market or smaller companies. They want their 10p stock or £10 million stock to turn into £1 billion. Which area are you looking at?
Well, best of luck to them. Best of luck to them. These are emotionally. You have to remember that in the middle of our brain we've got a little walnut thing called an amygdala. It's put there thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago to save us in the savannah lands, to save us all the saber-toothed tigers and so on. And this is something that fires adrenaline into the brain to escape, to run. And unfortunately, these people go from one end to another. They keep chasing things, ETFs and so on. If you're going to be good at that, then you're going to have your amygdala removed. So most of our clients now have wealth, and most of these people like to sleep at night. They're not chasing growth. Those that do are very exceptional. Most people, by the time they've got all this money, they don't want losses. You know, the Daniel Kahneman's thing, 2.5 times greater problem with a loss than a gain. And so we concentrate basically from the defence out, and then we'll put in a few attackers that we think, like small caps. We think small caps are undervalued, especially global small caps. And there are 1 or 2 really good managers in that small cap arena, so we'll pick them. I mean, somebody like Harry Nimmo has been there for 18 years at Standard Life. He's got a pretty good record on rolling 3 or 4 year periods. Gervais Williams at Mighton, you know, these are the kind of people we think. Nick Musto at Invesco Perpetual, global small cap. You're good managers.
So, speaking of the managers, the fantasy fund managers football team is something that you espouse, yeah. And you're choosing the best of the other people you see around you.
We try to, yeah, that's what we try to do, and we try and put them together so it's an effective team. You know, we spoke off camera about Alec Ferguson at Man United. He was very good at mixing a team that played together, that won. And it's all very, you don't just put, we often use the comparison of if you could pick a team of fund managers, would you pick a Barcelona or a Barnsley? Not that I've got anything against Barnsley, it begins with B. So if you could get them at the same price, and if you could bring them in without vast transfer fees, Bosmans they're called, I believe, then would you have Ronaldo in your team? If he didn't cost you anything to bring him in, and he was earning £350,000 a week, I see. You know, if he was earning a sensible amount of money, would you have him in your team? Of course you would. I mean, even Barcelona would probably have him in their team. So that's what we try and do. We try and mix them, but we work from the back, and we are very aware that our clients don't want horrible surprises, which is why we keep doing the macro research to see if the secular movement is in danger. And once we're satisfied in that, then we'll put the team together, but we still have this focus on defence.
So it really is
boring.
So it is boring. So I mean that's the final thing from me, from my perspective. What I've seen and heard over the years is that it is boring companies you should be looking to. Probably boring fund managers as well. So boring people to invest your money. People who don't have,
especially in defence,
who are not flashy, and don't promise you the earth. Let's say.
Correct. But I like boring. You know what I say is Barcelona. If you take this analogy, Barcelona is, apart from getting beaten last night 3-1, which is one of, they are probably the best attacking team in the last decade. But they still have a goalkeeper. You know, I don't know if you've noticed it, but they've got a goalkeeper. And they've not got just any goalkeeper. They try and buy good, world-class goalkeepers. And they've also got a defence with defenders. And they get world-class defenders. So you really want the world-class people at the back, and you want boring people. Neil Woodford, sorry Neil, but he's quite boring. But by jings does he deliver consistently over the years since '84 that I've known him. He delivers. So I would have him, that kind of person, at my centre half, and I would have somebody like Sebastian Lyon. If you've met Sebastian, he doesn't even know what a goalkeeper is. He doesn't do football. I think he must be a rugby man. Sebastian, somebody like that. David Jane, ex-Chief Investment Officer, M&G, now at Mighton. You've got these people at the back. And then you would have somebody like James Harries, who's an excellent midfielder, reads the game. He's gone recently. He's just joined Troy, Global Income. But you look at his record. And that's the kind of spine. We call it the Brian Clough spine. That's the kind of spine. And then you have somebody like Terry Smith up front.
All right, so we're just at the end, we're going towards the end of 2016. Is there any particular thing that people should look out for? Do you think it's a special time, it's business as usual, despite all this noise over the presidency and everything else?
Yeah, well, I would say that if the US market corrects, because I don't think it's going to be a big fall, unlike Crispinodi, if the market corrects a little bit, I would say to people, this is a buying opportunity. And I think they should perhaps, if they want a bit of excitement in their life, small caps are undervalued. And if you want a kind of off-the-wall tip, which I've just put in my pension fund, is a Latin American fund. Because Latin America has been absolutely battered. It's come back a bit this year, this last 6 months. But I don't think we have seen anything yet. I think there's a lot of money going to go piling into Latin America. Mexico's really undervalued. Brazil's still undervalued. Chile's undervalued. Get a decent Latin American ETF if you want, and put it away and then go to sleep for 3 years.
Alan Steele, investment advisor at Alan Steele Asset Management. Thank you very much for coming in today.
Thank you.
That's it for the Share Views. Join us again next week.